So today I'll be presenting passport, visa, and immigration management using blockchain based on the same paper. And the reason I chose this was because this was the only research paper I could find that was kind of relative to my problem or what I'm going to write about for my research paper next week. So the content for this presentation is first I'm going to have a little introduction of the problem, and then I'm going to talk about some preliminaries like the current system model. I'm going to then talk about the author's proposed solution, and before going to a conclusion. So in today's digital world, the process of getting a passport or visa is still very largely paper-based, and the process to apply for either of those has a lot of repetitive processes and require the same documents to be verified multiple times. As well, during travel, people stand in very long queues for getting immigration checks, and when a passport is lost or the information is incorrect or compromised, there's always a huge hassle involved. So the current process for getting a passport and visa is very inefficient, it's very error-prone or prone to errors, and time-consuming, since it involves third parties and paper-based verification done manually. And the process for immigration itself is also complex and time-consuming process both for the traveler as well as the immigration officers involved in the verification process. So because of this, there is a need for a transnational solution to address or solve this problem. And the authors of this paper therefore proposes a solution that utilizes the power of blockchain and smart contracts to store a person's travel information digitally. And this way of digitizing passport and visa helps in simplifying the issuing, renewing, revoking, verification, and validation process. So the current system model is that we need a passport, visa, and immigration steps, which are three important documents a person needs when traveling from one country to another. The passport is usually issued by a passport issuing authority of a country or for the respective citizens. And this authority has the power to either accept or reject a passport application. And so once a passport is issued, the person can then apply for a visa by submitting a visa application to the visa agency or the visa consulate, along with all the other required documents. And this visa consulate then will validate all the required documents and then can also choose to either accept or reject based on the documents. And once the visa application is accepted, visa stamping will be done in the passport. And so during travel from one country to another, the person has to submit passport and visa to immigration agency of that country. And so this immigration agency will have the permission to either approve or deport from the travel request of that person via immigration stamp. So the authors are proposing a transnational solution by implementing an identification mechanism that can be verified across different nations digitally. And they are using permission-based blockchain technology as a platform for information exchange across globally. So by using the blockchain's distributed ledger gives the following advantages. It eliminates the need of having to rely on third-party verification, and it eliminates the need to carry physical copies everywhere, and only needs to carry a unique identifier, which can also further be improved by using biometrics. It brings more transparency in the entire process, as the current system is prone to error and manipulations because of the number of parties involved. It quickens the process and makes it more secure, as the process now for getting a visa is cumbersome. It provides provenance of the data in the blockchain, so government agencies do not have to be afraid of manipulation or falsifying. It also creates a simpler ecosystem for information exchange, as there will be a standard mechanism for information exchange among the participating countries. So there is also need for operational requirements for this solution to ensure that data on the ledger is not tampered with. And so the passport issuing authority will have the job of verifying the document and issue the passport, along with a public key to the applying individual. This agency is only responsible for managing the passport details like date of birth or passport number, and other personal details, and they will not be granted any permissions to add or edit any visa or immigration-related data. The visa consulates are responsible for granting or revoking a visa of a particular individual after a thorough background verification, and they will only have the read permissions to the passport data. All they can do is get to get the data related to the passport, and so all the other visas and traveling information from blockchain by queries. So this agency can add the details like visa number, expiry date, and visa type to a person's record, which is added to the ledger. And the immigration authorities are the ones that manage the travel of an individual from one country to another. They are responsible to enter details like the date of entry and exit, and will only be given a read-only permission to the ledger for data they need to cross-check before making decisions related to immigration. So all of these three agencies will also have their own private key, so they can enter their respective information onto the ledger. And in the proposed solutions, there are 4 major algorithms that are written that are supposed to be used as smart contracts. I will not go into detail how this works, but essentially these are essential to ensure that the data is entered into the ledger by correct agencies. So these are the issue of passport, issue of visa, adding immigration details to blockchain, and querying capabilities from the blockchain. The 3 first algorithm is for entering the data to the blockchain from the various agencies, and before executing a transaction, the agencies have to be a part of the ledger, they have to be verified and authenticated. And the result of this algorithm will be a final single object that will hold all travel-related data of a person, which will be the blockchain itself. And the last algorithm, it's for querying capabilities. So it's designed based is for querying capabilities, and it's designed based on the permission level that the agency has to ensure that only relevant data is retrieved. So this is what they will use to get the data when they need to cross-check. And here we can see a workflow for a particular case where an Indian citizen applies for a passport, then a US visa, and then a Canadian visa from the US. And we can see that in the first step, an Indian citizen applies for a new passport to the passport issuing authority by giving his public key. We can see it in the passport application here. And this allows the passport agency to access all the relevant documents of the applicant. And the agency does all the document verification and decides whether to issue a new passport or not. And if they decide to issue, they will use their private key to enter the passport details into the blockchain and will give back like a passport into the ledger and the public key. Now, for this person to apply for a US visa, he just needs to give the US consulate his public key. You can see that here. Apply for a US visa using public key. And the consulate can query the ledger to get relevant passport information. And then they can use their private key to store information about the visa regardless if the visa is granted or declined. So even if the visa is declined, they can store that information so other visa agencies can see that, okay, this person has been declined another visa. And so at the airport, if this person has been granted a visa, they can give the public key to the airport authorities, and so they can check the information they need and decide from that whether they need to whether they will let this person on board or not. And this whole process, these 4 steps, can be done at every stage of the travel in the various countries. So say this person went to USA, then again in the USA to apply for a visa for Canada, you will do the same step for a step 3. And this can be repeated the whole way. So in this presentation, I talked about the blockchain-based solution for managing travel-related government documents that makes an effort in digitizing and store data in the distributed ledger. I explained about the current system model and proposed solution with its operational requirements and advantages and workflow. And authors mentions in the paper that some future challenges with this solution includes to get various governing agencies on board, as it's a transnational solution, so they need help from several countries, obviously. And to add more security, how to integrate intelligent biometrics to easily authenticate the person. And here's the reference. Thank you.